If you're watching this right now, there's a reason. Something in you is ready for the next level. Not tomorrow, not next year, now. And before you scroll away, I want you to listen closely, because what I'm about to say may be the truth you've avoided, the truth no one has had the courage to tell you directly. There is a version of you that is powerful, intentional, emotionally intelligent, deeply respected, and completely in control of your life, but you've been living disconnected from that version for far too long, and this video is the moment that split stops. Most people will never experience transformation because they're addicted to comfort, distracted by noise, and surrounded by people who benefit from their stagnation. But you're here, listening, which means you're different. You're hungry for clarity, depth, mastery. And I promise you this, if you stay with me until the final second of this video, you will walk away with the psychological keys most people spend their entire lives chasing blindly. The kind of insight that doesn't just motivate you for a day, but rewires how you think, how you act, and how you show up in relationships, in your purpose, and in the world. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to disrupt you in the best possible way, because life only changes when your perspective does. And what you are about to hear has the power to shift everything, if you're willing to receive it fully. So stay with me. Don't miss the moment that could become the turning point of your entire life. When we talk about why younger women become drawn to older men, people love to point to clichés: maturity, stability, experience. But the truth goes far beyond these surface-level explanations. If you really want to understand this dynamic, if you want to understand why some older men are chased while others are ignored entirely, you have to go deeper into psychology. Younger women are not responding to age, they are responding to a man's ability to command himself. And this is something so rare today that when a woman encounters it, she feels it before she even understands it. This is where the attraction begins, not in looks, wealth, or charm, but in a man's inner architecture. Think about the average man in the modern world. He reacts to everything. He gets irritated easily. He gets insecure quickly. He seeks validation constantly. His emotions move him instead of him moving his emotions. And women feel this instability immediately. They can sense when a man has no internal leadership. They can sense when his emotions are his master rather than his resource. But the older man who has cultivated self-command, who has trained himself to remain centered, even when life becomes unpredictable, becomes a completely different presence. He doesn't just walk into a room, he anchors it. Younger women are drawn to this because self-command is the deepest form of masculine energy. It's the opposite of chaos, the opposite of insecurity, the opposite of emotional neediness. When a man is grounded within himself, he stops radiating hunger, he stops radiating desperation, and that is when women notice him, not because he is chasing, but because he is unmoved. And in a world where almost everyone is easily moved, the man who maintains his equilibrium becomes magnetic. Imagine a man who doesn't react when someone tests him. He doesn't become flustered when things don't go his way. He doesn't change his entire personality just because someone disapproved of him. He doesn't collapse into emotional noise. This man is not cold, he is in control. He feels everything, but nothing rules him. He does not suppress, he regulates. He does not avoid, he navigates. And that level of emotional intelligence is rare enough to be valued on a primal level. Women don't consciously say, "I want an older man because he is emotionally disciplined." But they feel it. They feel safe around a man who won't break under pressure. They feel drawn to a man who can lead himself before leading anyone else. And they feel fascinated by a man who does not need their approval to validate his identity. A younger woman isn't looking for a savior. She is looking for a man who is not drowning in his own internal storms. Because when a man is drowning, he pulls everyone around him down. But when a man is steady, he becomes a pillar others naturally lean toward. This is why women chase the older man who has command over his emotional world. His presence becomes a form of emotional safety. We often think of safety as protection from danger, but emotional safety is protection from unpredictability. And the older man who has learned to manage his impulses, who understands his triggers, who has developed an internal dialogue that is calm and strategic, becomes a source of stability. This stability is not weak or dull, it is powerful. It creates contrast with the chaotic environment most people live in. It makes a woman feel like she has stepped into a different reality when she's around him. Self-command also influences how a man communicates. A man who is grounded does not rush his words. He does not speak from anxiety. His tone is measured, deliberate. He listens more than he reacts. His presence tells a story long before his mouth does. And younger women notice this immediately because it stands out in a world full of noise. This kind of man does not try to be mysterious, yet he becomes mysterious because he is selective with his energy. He is not performing. He is not oversharing. He is not trying to impress. He is simply present. And women can feel when a man is present. They feel respected, seen, and understood. Not because he says the right words, but because he embodies the right energy. Older men who are chased don't chase themselves. They don't chase validation. They don't chase chaos. They don't chase temporary pleasure. They chase mastery. They chase clarity. They chase discipline. And when a woman sees a man who lives by a standard he created for himself, she knows he is different. She knows he is not shaped by the world. He shapes the world around him. Self-command also means a man does not negotiate his values. He doesn't fold them for attraction, attention, or approval. A woman may test him, but he does not reinterpret his worth based on the outcome of a conversation. He knows who he is before she enters his life, and he will know who he is if she leaves. That independence is what younger women find irresistible. They want proximity to a man who is complete, not looking for someone to complete him. And here's the part most men never understand. The more control you have over yourself, the less you feel the need to control anyone else. The older man who has mastered himself doesn't try to dominate. He doesn't need to. His inner authority is so strong it is felt without force. That is the difference between a boyish masculinity and a mature one. One demands attention, the other commands it effortlessly. So the question is not whether women chase older men. The question is what kind of older man they chase. And the answer is simple: the one who is not controlled by his emotions, but guided by them. The one who is not led by his insecurities, but aware of them. The one who does not crumble in silence, but grows stronger in it. A man does not become attractive simply because he ages. He becomes attractive when his age reflects evolution, not erosion. When he has learned the art of being still in a world addicted to movement. And if you take one thing from this, let it be this: women chase the older man who has mastered the hardest battlefield on earth, his own mind. One of the biggest misunderstandings men have about attraction is the belief that women fall for the man who tries the hardest. They assume effort equals interest and interest equals attraction. But that is the thinking of a man who has never understood feminine psychology. Women don't fall for the man who tries the hardest. They fall for the man who carries himself with an internal certainty that makes trying unnecessary. And this is where older men often, unintentionally, gain an advantage. Not because they are older, but because they no longer perform. They no longer live on a stage constructed by insecurity. They have outgrown the exhausting need to be liked, approved of, or validated. And this absence of performance is exactly what makes them magnetic. A younger man often feels he needs to impress. He adjusts his personality depending on who he's around. He becomes louder when he feels invisible, funnier when he feels insecure, more agreeable when he feels threatened. His identity becomes a shifting shape based on external expectations. But an older man, the one women chase, doesn't bend his identity for anyone. He knows that the moment he tries to win approval, he loses something far more valuable: respect. He understands that the need to impress is born from a fear of not being enough, and he has spent enough years learning that fear is a weak compass. Women are intuitive. They can sense when a man is performing. They can feel when his charm is a mask, when his confidence is borrowed, when his interest is desperation dressed as passion. But when a man stops performing, when he shows up authentically without trying to manipulate perception, his presence feels real. It feels grounded. It feels safe. And this is what younger women rarely find in men their age, because authenticity requires self-knowledge, and self-knowledge takes time. The older man who is chaste does not audition for anyone. He doesn't exaggerate his achievements. He doesn't hide his flaws. He doesn't pretend to be someone he is not. He is comfortable with his truth, not because it is perfect, but because it is his. And this comfort creates an emotional gravity that women feel the moment they interact with him. He is not loud, but he is heard. He is not flashy, but he is seen. He is not seeking attention, but he naturally receives it. When a man no longer performs, something powerful happens. His energy becomes consistent, and consistency is extremely attractive because it signals emotional maturity. Women don't want unpredictability, they want reliability, and reliability is not created through effort, it is revealed through authenticity. When a man is genuine, his actions align with his words, his tone matches his intention, his behavior is not influenced by pressure, competition, or insecurity. He becomes a man whose presence feels predictable in the best way, not boring but stable. And this stability creates a feeling of emotional safety that is rare today. A woman doesn't have to guess who he is. She doesn't have to decode mixed signals. She doesn't have to question his intentions. His authenticity creates clarity, and clarity is deeply attractive. It allows her to relax, to open up, to trust. And trust is the foundation of any meaningful connection. The older man who stops performing also becomes selective. Not rude, not arrogant, but discerning. He doesn't give his attention to everyone. He doesn't engage in meaningless validation games. He doesn't respond to every demand on his energy. He values his time because he has learned how wasteful it is to give it away freely. And this selectiveness is what creates the aura of mystery around him. He doesn't have to try to be mysterious. His life, his standards, and his restraint naturally make him intriguing. Younger women chase this older man because he does not chase them, not because he is uninterested, but because he is not willing to abandon himself in the process of pursuing someone else. He knows that attraction built on a performance collapses the moment the performance ends. So he builds attraction through substance, not theatrics, through depth, not decoration. And here is a truth most men will never accept: the less you try to be interesting, the more interesting you become. Because real magnetism is not created, it is revealed when the noise of insecurity is removed. The man who is comfortable in silence, who doesn't need attention to feel valuable, becomes more attractive than any man who tries to shine. A woman doesn't chase the spotlight, she chases the source of light. And the source is always internal. You can see this in how an older man communicates. He doesn't rush. He doesn't overshare. He doesn't compete for dominance in conversation. He speaks from clarity, not fear. And when he listens with presence, not with an agenda. Women feel seen by him because his attention is intentional, not performative. He isn't trying to impress her. He's simply present with her. And presence, real presence, is one of the most attractive things a man can offer. When a man stops performing, he also stops apologizing for who he is. He stops shrinking to make others comfortable. He stops adjusting himself in hopes of being chosen. Instead, he becomes the chooser. And women feel that difference immediately. A man who is comfortable choosing is a man who is comfortable being alone. And a man who is comfortable being alone is a man who cannot be manipulated This independence makes him deeply appealing because it signals strength, not loud external strength, but internal strength that cannot be shaken. So if you want to understand why women chase certain older men, you must look beyond age. Look at how these men carry themselves. Look at how they move through the world without trying to win it over. Look at how they stand firm in who they are without performing for anyone. Their authenticity is their advantage. Their lack of performance is their power. And if you take only one thing from this message, let it be this: the moment you stop performing for the world is the moment the world becomes drawn to you. One of the most misunderstood qualities that makes older men deeply attractive is emotional stability. People talk about maturity, confidence, or experience, but beneath all of that lies something far more fundamental: the ability to remain emotionally grounded. Younger women are not simply drawn to an older man because he is older. They are drawn to him because he has outgrown the emotional chaos that most young men still live in. And this is a truth very few men ever understand. Emotional stability is not something you pretend to have, it is something you embody. It is the invisible quality that communicates strength without aggression, calm without passivity, certainty without arrogance. Younger men often confuse intensity for connection. They believe dramatic conversations, impulsive decisions, and wild emotional swings make a relationship exciting. But what they don't realize is that instability may create attraction for a moment, but it destroys connection over time. The older man who has learned to regulate his emotions is not boring. He is trustworthy. And trust is the foundation of every deep attraction. A woman may be fascinated by unpredictability for a moment, but she will only pursue the man who gives her the psychological freedom to relax. When a man is emotionally stable, he does not become reactive. He does not take things personally. He does not explode over small inconveniences or collapse under pressure. He has learned how to pause before responding, how to observe before reacting, how to understand rather than attack. And that quality is extremely rare because it requires discipline, humility, and self-awareness. Traits that most men only develop after they have faced enough life to recognize their own patterns. Emotional stability makes a man feel like home, not in a domestic sense, but in a psychological one. A woman feels safe expressing herself around him because she knows he will not weaponize her vulnerability. She knows he will not turn her emotions into a battlefield. She knows he will not punish her for having moments of doubt or insecurity. The older man who has mastered emotional control creates an environment where the relationship can grow rather than break. And there's something powerful about how he handles conflict. He doesn't run from it, and he doesn't escalate it. He approaches it with clarity. He listens before reacting. He holds his ground without being defensive. He speaks with intention, not impulse. This creates a sense of emotional containment, meaning he can hold space for difficult conversations without losing himself in them. Women feel this. They feel when a man can take emotional pressure without collapsing. And this ability is one of the biggest reasons younger women pursue older men. They crave stability, not suppression. They crave strength, not control. The older man who has outgrown chaos also lives with a sense of direction. His emotional state is not constantly shifting because his identity is not under construction anymore. He knows what matters to him. He knows what he stands for. His values are not negotiable. His boundaries are not temporary. And that consistency eliminates the confusion that so many women experience with younger men. She doesn't have to wonder if he's interested, confused, overwhelmed, or emotionally unavailable. His emotional presence is steady, and steady presence feels like certainty. Younger women are often surrounded by men whose emotions are shaped by external stimuli, social media attention, peer pressure, insecurity, boredom, or fear of missing out. But the older man who has cultivated emotional stability is fueled by internal clarity. He is not thrown off by opinions, moods, or expectations. He doesn't need approval to feel grounded. He doesn't rely on someone else's reactions to decide his behavior. And that independence is incredibly attractive because it signals maturity, resilience, and self-control. Emotional stability also shows up in how he deals with life. When challenges arise, he doesn't panic. He evaluates, he strategizes, he stays calm. And this calmness is not just emotional, it's psychological. He has lived long enough to understand that problems are not disasters. They are part of life. This mindset reduces anxiety for the woman in his life because she knows she is standing beside someone who can handle difficulty without turning it into drama. Another reason emotional stability is so attractive is because it creates emotional polarity. Women are naturally more expressive emotionally. They feel deeply, intuitively, intensely, and when a man can hold his ground in the presence of that intensity, he becomes a source of balance. He doesn't get overwhelmed. He doesn't compete emotionally. He doesn't shut down. He becomes an anchor. And women chase the man who feels like an anchor because anchors create safety without restricting freedom. But perhaps the most compelling part of emotional stability is the sense of peace it brings. A peaceful man is not passive, he is powerful. Peace is a sign of mastery. Peace means he does not need chaos to feel alive. Peace means he does not start fights to feel significant. Peace means he does not use emotions as weapons or shields. Peace means he has reached a level of maturity where his inner world is not at war anymore. And this peace is what attracts younger women the most. Not because they want a father figure, not because they want someone to depend on, but because peace is rare, peace is valuable, peace is magnetic, peace is strength. And when a woman sees a man who embodies peace, she recognizes a man who can lead, not through dominance, but through emotional clarity. That is why emotional stability becomes one of the defining traits of the older man who is chaste. He has lived enough life to understand himself, heal himself, discipline himself, and transcend the emotional immaturity that keeps so many men stuck in cycles of drama and insecurity. And if you want one truth to stay with you long after this message ends, let it be this: a man becomes deeply attractive the moment his emotions stop controlling him and start serving him. Purpose is the one quality that separates men who are noticed from men who are pursued, and most men never understand this difference. Attention is cheap. Anyone can get attention. But attraction, the kind that pulls someone toward you without effort, comes from something far deeper. It comes from direction. It comes from a man who knows exactly where he is going and refuses to be distracted by anything that doesn't align with his vision. Younger women chase older men not because of age, but because older men carry a sense of direction that younger men rarely possess. They have a mission, not just desires, and a mission creates gravity. People move around a man with purpose the way planets move around the sun. They feel it before they understand it. A man with purpose doesn't wake up wondering who he should impress. He wakes up thinking about what he needs to accomplish. He is not focused on being chosen, he is focused on building. He is not addicted to attention, he is addicted to progress. This focus is what makes him stand out. Women sense this energy immediately because purpose changes a man's entire presence. It changes how he walks, how he speaks, how he carries himself, and even how he responds to challenges. Purpose gives a man a psychological center, a kind of inner compass that guides his decisions and filters out distractions. Younger men often live in a state of confusion, constantly shifting directions, trying new identities, chasing validation one moment and escaping responsibility the next. It's not because they are weak. It's because they are still searching for who they are. But the older man who has discovered his purpose has already passed through that stage. He has figured out what matters to him, and because of that, he is no longer moved by temporary impulses. He doesn't get excited by every opportunity because he knows exactly which opportunities fit his path and which ones pull him away from it. And women feel this clarity. They feel when a man has a center. they feel when he is not swayed by their beauty or pressure or expectations. A man with purpose does not lose himself in the presence of a woman. He remains rooted. And this is what creates emotional polarity. Women do not want to lead. They want to feel guided. They don't want a man who needs them to feel complete. They want a man who invites them into a life that already has meaning. A man with purpose offers direction, and direction is deeply attractive. Purpose also changes how a man manages his time and energy. He becomes selective, not because he feels superior, but because he understands that his time is his most valuable resource. He doesn't waste it on trivial arguments or temporary people. He invests it in growth, in discipline, in progress. And when a woman sees that a man values his life, she naturally begins to value him more. Respect is not demanded, it is earned through alignment and consistency. Another reason purpose is so attractive is because it creates emotional stability. A man who knows where he is going doesn't panic when life becomes difficult. He doesn't collapse when facing setbacks. His mission gives him resilience. He sees challenges as part of the journey, not as signs that he should give up. And this resilience reassures women. It shows them that he is not just strong when life is easy, but strong when life is hard, that he will remain steady even in storms. A purposeful man also becomes less reactive. He doesn't chase drama because drama is a distraction. He doesn't argue to prove himself because his mission speaks louder than words. He doesn't need to impress anyone because he knows that greatness is revealed through consistent action, not loud claims. And a woman observing this sees something powerful: a man who is too focused on building his life to damage it with emotional impulsivity. That kind of self-control is rare, and rarity is attractive. There is also something incredibly grounding about a man who is actively pursuing something meaningful. You can see it in his discipline, in his habits, in the way he spends his days. His life has structure, his routines reflect intention, his choices reflect vision. He is not drifting, he is moving, and movement is magnetic. Women are naturally drawn to the energy of expansion. They want to join a man who is going somewhere. They want to be part of something bigger, something that elevates their life rather than restricts it. An older man with purpose provides that sense of upward movement. He is not stagnant, he is not stuck, he is evolving. And when a man evolves, he inspires everyone around him to evolve as well. But the most profound part of purpose is how it changes a man's relationship with himself. When a man is living with direction, he respects himself differently. His discipline grows. His confidence becomes quieter but deeper. His decisions become clearer. He begins to live with integrity because his life demands it. And that integrity is what makes him trustworthy. Women chase older men with purpose because they see a man who keeps his promises. Not because he has to, but because he doesn't want to betray who he is becoming. And here is the truth most men never hear. Purpose is not something you find. It's something you build. It's created through action, through clarity, through repetition, through choosing progress over comfort. The older men women chase are not special. They are consistent. They are committed. They are disciplined. They have simply done the internal work that most men avoid. If you want to understand the magnetic pull of these men, look at their focus. Look at their direction. Look at how they move with intention. Everything about them communicates that their life is bigger than a moment, bigger than a feeling, bigger than a relationship. And if you walk away with one final thought, let it be this: a man becomes irresistible the moment his life starts moving toward a purpose greater than himself.